The Cleveland Browns went winless in 2017, made some front office changes, and increased the talent level on what was already a talented roster. They also brought in two new quarterbacks in Tyrod Taylor and rookie Baker Mayfield. Was this a shakeup they needed to get them back into the playoffs for the first time since 2002? The one certainty we do know is that they'll at least be vastly improved this upcoming season. Why do we think so? Well, that's why we are all gathered here today to break down the season for the 2018 Cleveland Browns. Let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the season as we go into our 4-minute offense. There are a whole new set of quarterbacks in Cleveland this year as the entire depth chart from 2017 is no longer on the roster. In comes the veteran Tyrod Taylor in a trade with the Buffalo Bills and the #1 overall pick Baker Mayfield, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner from Oklahoma. Tyrod Taylor gives them a stable vet at the position that has played some winning football over the course of his career. You can definitely say that he was unfairly ran out of Buffalo for doing something that hadn't been done there since 1999, and that was leading them to the playoffs. The Bills' loss is the Browns' gain, as Taylor has proved that he can play efficient football and help keep a team's offense on pace. He's the present, and Baker Mayfield is the future for this organization. Taylor is on a 1-year deal, and the goal for him is to start the season and allow Mayfield to be brought along slowly. Now, the #1 overall pick is coming in with a ton of fanfare after his fantastic career at Oklahoma, and obviously he wants to play and start day one. But in order for that to happen, he's going to have to outplay the vet and make the decision, an obvious one for the coaches. Either way, the Browns feel as though they have a good situation here at the position now and for the future. And we'll see if Taylor does what he did in Buffalo, leading the Browns to the playoffs, and plays so well that he earns himself a contract extension. This will be fun to watch play out throughout the entire training camp and over the course of the regular season. Head coach Hugh Jackson is giving up play calling duties this year and has brought in an offensive coordinator in the longtime coach Todd Haley from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it was a good move as it allows Jackson to serve much more as a manager and not be swamped or overwhelmed on game day. Haley is coming over from the Steelers, and I think it's a perfect fit for this organization. I mean, if Baker Mayfield was a coach, he'd be Todd Haley. They even look alike, but in all seriousness, Haley knows how to get multiple weapons involved in the offense, keeping everyone happy in the process. So we'll see what the difference is, or what difference it'll make for this offense as a whole, and what difference it'll make for Hugh Jackson as well. All eyes will be on last year's #1 overall pick Myles Garrett and the progression he makes in his second season. Garrett was okay as a rookie after being billed as a can't-miss prospect coming out of Texas A&M. You saw flashes of potential last year, and now you're looking to see him put it all together on a consistent basis on both ends of defense. His growth in year 2 could really transform this defense. That's the expectation from both the team and Myles Garrett himself. One of the major camp battles this year will take place at left tackle. Future Hall of Famer Joe Thomas retired in the offseason, leaving a vacancy on the blind side. Third-year pro Sean Thomas, who played right tackle last season, is staking his claim for the position as he's been in the organization the longest. He played well last year and seems to have the inside track. In the second round, the Browns selected Austin Corbett from Nevada, who can play guard or tackle and figures to be in the mix there as well. And recently, they signed Greg Robinson, a former first-round pick, to add depth along the offensive front, as well as Donald Stevenson, who's going to serve a suspension to start the season. The right side looks to be held by free agent signing Chris Hubbard from the Pittsburgh Steelers, so all attention will be on the opposite end during training camp and in the preseason. A reason for optimism for the Cleveland Browns could be that this team has a lot of talent on it. I know it's hard for some to imagine that, considering that they were coming off of an 0-16 season, but this team could have easily won 5 to 6 games last year. The 2 deep looks impressive, and you have to give credit to both Sashi Brown and Paul DePodesta for the job they've done. Now, Brown is no longer with the organization, but he set up the team nicely from a draft capital and cap situation standpoint for new general manager John Dorsey to come in and bring in more top quality free agents and have a solid draft. So both regimes have done a great job in making this team look really good on paper, and at some point it'll definitely translate to wins on the field. You can also be optimistic about the receiving corps. This is a very talented group that can cause problems at every level of the field. Bringing in Jarvis Landry was huge in my opinion, as he's one of the premier targets in the game. Josh Gordon is Josh Gordon and should be even better this season. And young players like Corey Coleman, Rashad Higgins, and 4th-round draft pick Antonio Callaway provide good, versatile depth at the position. Hell, if you want to add in Duke Johnson to the mix, you can, because of how dangerous he is as a receiver. And the tight end position has 2 really good athletic threats in Seth DeValve and David Njoku. So no matter who gets the nod at quarterback, they will have much more at their disposal than what the group last year had to throw to, which should yield much better results. The defensive front seven also gives you a lot of optimism heading into the season. Speaking of depth and talent on the two deep, the rotation they have along the defensive line and at linebacker is very impressive. This was a group that was much improved over the 2016 season and still didn't reach its full potential last year. Adding another year of both health and talent to this group and should really exceed expectations in 2018. A cause for concern would be the in-game adjustments and strategies. This was an issue quite honestly last year for the Browns. Like I mentioned earlier, the team could have and should have won 5 to 6 games last season, but some questionable decisions on both sides of the ball led to missed opportunities to score points or to get off the field, or big plays being given up on defense. Both Hugh Jackson and Greg Williams are great coaches, but they have to be much better in-game in order for this team to take the next step. You can also have a bit of concern about the tackle position. We talked about the battle at left tackle, and losing a Hall of Fame player at that position will give anyone a cause for pause. But even on the right side, there's a question. Chris Hubbard is a solid player, but is he a difference maker? If so, and Sean Coleman can hold down the left tackle spot, then was the Austin Corbett pick a bit of a reach? There's a lot of questions that still have to get answered and sorted out before they kick off the regular season. Here are some quick Browns takes as they head into training camp. Josh Gordon and defensive tackle Caleb Brantley are my picks for breakout seasons. I know it's weird to have Gordon as a breakout candidate, but coming from where he's coming from and being able to put together back-to-back football seasons, that should be big for him and his production on the field. And Brantley spent time in rotation last year, and I think you'll start to see that first-round talent show itself during camp, which would afford him more opportunities during the regular season. Look for undrafted rookie free agent Desmond Harrison out of West Georgia and Jeremy Falk to turn some heads in training camp. Harrison is an athletic offensive lineman that could be in the mix for a swing tackle role this season, and Falk was an underrated addition late last season coming from a JUCO and should be much more acclimated to the pro game, which will allow for his ability versus the run to show itself even more so during camp. Rookie impact players this year will be running back Nick Chubb and cornerback Denzel Ward. Chubb, in my opinion, will win out as the starting tailback for the Browns this season, or at least see a starter's workload over free agent Carlos Hyde. The combination of both players will give the Browns a dependable ground game that they sorely need. And you don't take a cornerback in the top 5 if you don't think he can be an impact player. Ward was one of the best corners in college football that has ball skills, fluidity, and athleticism to thrive in today's game. He's going to be a day one starter for Cleveland. And from a fantasy football perspective, Duke Johnson will be the guy that I would target on this offense. He's good in a PPR format and is a good flex player. I think with Todd Haley calling the shots this season on offense, he'll find ways to get the football into the hands of one of their more versatile options. The road to the Super Bowl for the Browns goes as follows. The red zone offense improved significantly. This was a huge problem last year for Cleveland, partly due to a rookie quarterback's inconsistency and play calling. The Browns left a lot of touchdowns on the field last year, and that can't happen this upcoming season. Also, the improvements made in the secondary has to spearhead a huge turnaround. We talked about Denzel Ward, but the Browns also added free safety Demarius Randall, which allows last year's draft pick Jabril Peppers to move to a more natural strong safety position. Free agent signing TJ Carey was an underrated one, as he's a really good matchup corner with solid instincts, and if the potential of this group on paper produces on the field, this could easily be a top 10 defense. And speaking of top 10, that's where this offense has to be if they want to get to a Super Bowl. It's definitely possible with a quarterback like Tyrod Taylor at the controls. Possible because of how he will aid the ground game, and also coming off play action, he's one of the more accurate deep ball passers in the game. So the Browns should see an uptick in production on that side of the ball this season, and if that uptick gets them into the top 10, then this team could see themselves in the playoffs. I have the Browns finishing 4th in the AFC North. Again, very talented roster that will be obviously better this upcoming season. This team is not that far away from getting to where they want to be. Depending on how they start the season could make things very interesting down the stretch. The football in Cleveland will be fun to watch from August to December this time, with an eye toward 2019 being the breakthrough. So that's it for our 2018 NFL season team preview. Be sure to follow me on all of our social media accounts. Also check out and subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast, and to find other NFL team previews for our 2018 NFL season kickoff, visit the YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan and click that subscribe button.